Dopamine. I love dopamine. Why? Because it's the brain chemical that makes us feel good. The chemical that rewards our brain. And over these past few years, it's slowly been turning my brain into mush. So today, I'm going to be ranking every source of dopamine from S to F, all the way from music to gaming to sports, and even different types of sports. So without further ado, let's get into our first question. Music. Is music a good source of dopamine? Well, apparently it reduces anxiety. Yeah, not too sure who researched this. Bit of an argument circulates online that listening to music is addictive. I don't remember when Reddit got a PhD in BS, but overall, I think everyone can agree that everyone likes music. And if you don't, apparently you're mentally disadvantaged. So, you know, not my words. But yeah, this is definitely an S tier. Let's talk about food. I love food. In fact, if you like food, smash that like button. Because if you don't, obviously I'm going to suggest some help on screen right now. There are many ways you can enjoy this mouth-inducing part of life. Get a bit more of this, yeah? However, that is until the food sucks doo-doo garbage, bro. If you eat something and the food sucks, food is nothing but a nuisance to the brain. How can you eat something that you don't like and still release the same amount of dopamine? I mean, I'm sure there's someone in the comments right now talking about the malnourished children in Africa. And look, yeah, I'm sure their receptors are experiencing some kind of nuclear chain reaction, munching down on a leaf. But if you think I get excited eating egg salad for lunchtime, get out my game, bro. How are we supposed to gain happiness from munching down on a salad, right? Let's take a look at this plate. See this plate? I'm gonna scrump a portion. Boom. Okay, now I'm feeling a bit more confident. Parents are impressed. And all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. You've just won over your plate. You haven't wasted any food because waste not, want not. We don't need that. Not that it's a problem for some of you. Now, if you're an Asian watching this, you might have made yourself a bit of a blunder. But overall, I'm happy. I've released a bit of dopamine. I've eliminated my plate. And all of a sudden, I've just forgot about what I just ate. So why does it matter? And that's why I'm giving it an S tier. Speaking of science, however, let's rank how we make the world continue. Now, I actually want to keep ads on this video, so can't get into too much detail. But let's just say you're in a 1v1. Or not, your preference. I set adrenaline ready. You know what to ask her. And you always remember, if you don't ask, you don't get. You request to exchange contacts. Risky play. Now, there are many code mechanisms to this. Maybe she invites you to come stay over for the night, or maybe she invites you for a cup of tea. I don't know. I'm just waffling at this point. Do be wary though. If she struggles with your language, she might get the wrong message. So you probably want to clear that one up. If she says no, don't take it to heart. Maybe you're just a bit weird, or maybe you're not compatible. But otherwise, then comes her response. She says yes. I mean, that's not gonna help you. So you take off your armor, you whip out the one thing that you never normally whip out. Prop 4, by the way. Things get serious. The world at your disposal. But then you accidentally slip. Anyway, where were we on this list? Yeah, I got a bit carried away. Now, for safety measures, I'm going to talk about showering. Now, depending on how the day went, showering could be good, but it can also feel like a nuisance because it's a necessity. Sometimes I feel like showering can be the most calming, chilling feeling in the day. Sometimes I can feel like it's just a burden. Like, think of it. Who's looking forward to taking a dip at 2 a.m.? It's in the way. My bed's calling me. Ring, ring. And generally, the dopamine release is just not all that crazy. So I'm going to put it in C. Moving on to the more comforting version of bedding, we have sleep. Now look, I'm going to be real. Sleeping is probably one of the most passive-aggressive forms of trolling one human can get. When I'm popping off during the day, like bow, with my work, and I'm accomplishing so much during that day, this thing ends my winning streak. You know how annoying that is? I want to go beyond what's achievable in the world. But you see, if I'm having a bad day, sometimes I don't even know where I am when I'm waking up, and then I realize, slap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Sleeping is like charging your phone. It might not last the whole day. And then when the phone starts playing up at the end of the day, I'm left wondering why I can't finish that stupid piece of work. And for that reason, I'm gonna put my bed in B tier. Friends. Because we all love friends.
No, don't make it gay.
Now, of course, this is one of our founding forms for our survival. So let me give you this proposition. To give you an idea of how important friends are, not having friends causes death Like, not even trolling. We're talking heart disease. We're talking premature death. Think of how we survived back in the day, right? Think of that lion that's coming to your tiki hut. If you're alone, you break a sweat. What are you going to do? Throw a rock at it? Whoops. Bit of a mistake there. But imagine you're with a bunch of cavemen. That lion's finished, bro. He's not gonna want that smoke. Bro's getting 90'd on and 200 pumped by a spear. So if you don't have friends, just think about that imaginary lion out there. Because if a lion's not gonna kill you, science will. Lads, go in S tier. Oh, honest opinion, we don't need that. E tier. Anyway, kind of forgot about what we're on about, so let's talk about social media. Now, if used correctly, social media can be a great source of dopamine. Of course, I'm not talking about this social media. I'm talking about this social media. Wow, social interaction. Then again, you could just meet up with your homies in person instead of FaceTiming and texting like the right loser you are. But rest that aside, having a call with a friend or a family member that's about 3,000 miles away, it's a pretty nice feeling. And therefore, I'm gonna give it a C tier. But that is not all for social media. Let's talk about corn. Now, if I'm being honest, every time I hear stories about people consuming this stuff, it makes me realize how out of touch the internet is. Like, who watches this degenerate, time-wasting, meat rubbish? When I tell people I have never consumed corn, no one believes me. And it makes sense, because these are the same people that would struggle to go out there and get the real experience. Some people can't even talk to women. Like, are you dumb? People are getting millions of views talking to women. Gone a bit off topic here, but yeah, I'm just gonna put it in F. And since I like to think most of you are close with reality, let's talk about relationships. The be-all and end-all. The final level in the game. The friction that creates explosion. As you know, there are two sides to relationships. Either things can go really well, or they can completely go doo-doo garbage. Absolute chaos, bruh. Let's be real here. Not all relationships are perfect, but when things click without much context, life is great. Unfortunately, I've kind of cooked myself here since I've never been in a relationship as I'm recording this. But let's pretend I've not been insulting you for the past 2 minutes. I've been playing solos my whole life so far. And you know, that's fine. We don't need to beat the game so quickly. They expect all of this, da-da-da. But every day is a work in progress. Bro, what am I saying at this point? Yeah, science? Crazy. But maybe you're just an epic gamer, which in that case, let's talk about gaming.
You sent me a message first. Yeah.
Gaming sucks. If you're trash at the game, of course. If I'm not dominating that game in an hour, bro, you're not seeing me touch that game ever again. It's not happening. Let's be real here. Gaming is a great source of dopamine if you're good at it. And that's why I can't rank gaming high on this list. I just can't do it. Think of the employed trying to win a game of Fortnite just to get quad edited on and 200 pumped by a guy born after Gangnam Style. Now, don't get me wrong. It might just be me. Some of you probably play video games for hours, and I was like that back in the day, yeah? But now I'm old. I'm 19, but you know, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B tier because there's one thing. I'm going to talk about going outside. I love going outside. Why? Because I like to slow down the day. You know, sometimes to speed up, you gotta slow down. Fresh air breeds a fresh mind. Why is it that businesses and schools incentivize break times? It's because it helps you to de-stress, to recharge. It also increases dopamine levels, which essentially gets you more engaged with the world around you. And because of that, going outside, gotta go in A tier because there's one thing better than going outside. And that's working out. Not that you care, but I run like 6 times a week. And I can assure you that working out gives you the most calming sensation one can ever feel. Second to some things, of course. Working out makes me break a sweat. And don't get me wrong, it's hard work, but the feeling afterwards is worth dying for. It's good for you, you feel good about it, and it's free. And overall, working out, straight S tier. And while we're at it, let's talk about the better form of working out, which is in the form of sports. I love sports because sports are like life, except it pushes you to push that extra step. Like, this stuff builds confidence straight out of this world. Why do you think athletes are so confident? It's because they're in that flow state. They're locked in. And when they're cooking, they are cooking. And when they aren't, they're probably looking to start a fight. But otherwise, easily topping this list. By which, speaking of cooking, let's rank cooking. Now, speaking from experience, I'd say cooking is a pretty calming task, particularly because you're just with your food and the outcome you want out of it. You know, cooking's an alright task until you mess it up, and then it's a nightmare. B tier. Movies, they're cool. Not much else to it. I mean, when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, it's cool, but you don't get much out of it, all right? It's escapism. And for some people, that's enough. And that in doing so, it settles you down. But then again, you might be watching a 2-hour movie and thinking, oh, shoot, my assignment's due tomorrow. Whoops. Some of you might think, damn, could be doing something more productive. But otherwise, I'll give it an A. I'll give it an A. Next, we have dog. Yeah, a dog. Woof. Now we have reading. I would say the adult version of dopamine. I might be wrong, but I think if you're under the age of 16 nowadays, the most text you're going to read is probably in your exam, considering how much stimulation surrounds our being nowadays. I mean, I'm probably not doing your art any favors. Otherwise, reading, solid hobby. If you like what you're reading, B. And if you don't like reading, you're probably learning, being the worst version of reading. Now, let's be honest. Who likes learning? No one. Exactly. I think unless you've applied what you've learned, learning sucks. Who's out here saying, I love learning about the Pythagoras theorem, trigonometry, the mitochondria of the cell. What are we saying? I mean, of course, it's not all bad, right? Learning is a very subjective thing. And the stuff we usually remember is probably the more useless stuff, like how someone took a dump on the school toilet's floor instead of learning how A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I mean, let's be real. Which one are we going to remember the most? I think it's obvious. It's not sick. It's just science, right? If you're actively trying to learn a new skill and you're struggling with it, it gets boring quickly. You don't understand how many people I've seen just whip out their phone within this first 2 minutes of a lecture. Our brains have turned into mush. And for that reason, going in D, because there's something that is much better than the learning process. And that's going on holiday. Now, I'll be real, a little overrated, but it's still better than learning some algebraic formula. Going to another place or country is particularly exciting, especially when it's grey outside this wet island that I'm still living on. I mean, look at this. What is that? Where's the nutrients? Where's vitamin D? Like, bro, that's not vitamin D. That's vitamin G, bro. And what's more, vitamin D helps us to release dopamine. Going on holiday, going in A. But of course, B, if you come from a sunny country, because just end this pain, man. Anyway, that's my tier list. Agree if you agree. Disagree, don't care. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Join my Discord. And yeah, I'll be doing another one of these tier lists, which you might already be able to see on these end screens right here. And that's about it. So yeah.